Everybody, you should know that, what is it? We don't have, it's turbot we're having. Is it turbot?
No, because they're out of turbot. We'll be having sea bass.
Sea bass today, is that okay?
I don't know, is that really the image I want to project on a day of Germany's national humiliation, that I'm sitting here having a good time while
Alright,
the
let's start
nation's in
again.
crisis?
I talk and you cry.
Okay.
Will that work?
Yeah, I look very glum.
Alright, hello everybody, and we are with the famous Raphael Honigstein, who you've been telling the whole world what happened last night. Before we get into it, how does that work? So since last night you started getting calls, and it's the regular people that you work with that you of course prioritize. I imagine I saw you were writing on ESPN. And then what happened since last night? Professionally, I mean.
Well, I mean, it's usual you get the jobs of writing about the inquest, trying to find out the story behind the story if possible, so try and speak to people, and lots of radio calls, lots of people wanting to get some kind of a German take on things. And yeah, it's been a few busy hours, but then things will be a lot quieter in the next few days, so I'm not complaining.
Maybe, because I think you still got to tell your German audience about England, of course, and it does happen, and it's something that perhaps people don't realise. Say Spain gets knocked out in the next round against Russia, there will be
unlikely,
but it's possible. And then there is a professional situation. Do I go back home or do I stay? So it's tragedy in a kind of way.
No, it's
but
all good.
All good. So in terms of the inquest, the first reaction that you got, I know you haven't been impressed with Germany, but you didn't think this was going to happen.
No. I mean, you can't think that even if Germany is struggling with rhythm, struggling to really have a fluid game going, will not somehow find a way to beat South Korea. And in fairness, they almost did. I mean, they had enough clear-cut chances to win the game. 2 headers from point-blank distance, not going in, and then of course the inevitable panic kind of starts coming in, and by the end you see the team kind of breaking apart because 8 players are chasing a goal and there's no one left. So that, I think, is almost irrelevant, what happens in the last 10 minutes. The problem is, why did the momentum that they created after the Sweden win in the last minute, why was that not sustainable in the South Korea game? And you can point your finger at many things, but I think Löw, by substitutions, admitted that actually, again, he got the starting 11 wrong, and that the balance wasn't right, and that he played players that perhaps shouldn't have been on the pitch, like Sami Khedira in my view, and was too, I think, had drifted too much away from his own certainty. I think he looked like a coach who was no longer sure what worked and what didn't work, because he was so surprised that his big plan A that he came into the tournament with did not work, and then ended up correcting and then correcting the corrections and never really got out of the woods.
All right, we are analysing in hindsight, of course. That you have to do after results and performances, and both are being poor in terms of Germany. But is it going to be taken much further than that, or is it going to be pointed out it's just a tournament in which players were in good form, certain key players, and the coach got it wrong, or is it going to go further?
Well, I think the nature of Germany's exit will mean that you cannot just say, okay, that's it, see you tomorrow for the friendlies, or the League of Nations games, or whatever it is. Löw will have to think about this position. I think the German FA need to think about a few things in the background, whether the setup right now is maybe a little bit too comfortable, maybe a little bit overblown when it comes to marketing. These kind of minor issues that nevertheless could have an impact. But the problem for Löw is here that I think it's difficult to just write this off as it's one of those things that happen in a tournament, as they can, because going into the tournament, those problems were already visible. They had really poor friendly performances with the same issues. They weren't addressed. It was said, we talked about this in the team, nothing happened. Then Mexico was supposed to be the warning sign. Then things don't happen the same way, but similar things happen in another 2 games. So Löw, as I said, never really got to grips with those problems, and you wonder, did he believe himself when he kept repeating everything's going to be okay? Or did he actually see the problems and felt it was too late to tell people the truth? either way, it doesn't reflect very well on his coaching and on his judgment. And I think if he's honest with himself, he will have to admit that just like Euro 2012, the big semi-final against Italy, he got it wrong. He can recover from that, as he did, but he is a diminished manager after this performance.
Okay, a point to prove, but is it worthwhile taking it further than that and going to the experience of Italy and Spain in previous tournaments, having won the competition? As in, it's harder to win when you won a lot, it's harder to win with the same guys, and to actually be able to keep, and this is a catch-22, to actually keep those big guys in the national side, be loyal to you. You have to give them loyalty as well and make them play because they won.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's what stops you winning.
Yeah.
That's what the conclusion that was taken in Spain.
Yeah.
We took the team that won to Brazil because, of course, it's the World Cup in Brazil. It has to be them, but they never reached that extra level of performance that made us win again.
I think it's difficult to answer that in a general way. I think you have to look at every single player. There were players that weren't performing, Müller, Khedira, and I think that's okay. You just leave them out, play someone else. The squad had a lot of depth this time around. But then Löw wasn't really clear in his mind because he left some out and then brought them back and then left them out again. And there was this kind of flip-flopping that you really, I think, can't have in a tournament. You know, Manuel Neuer has a lot of credit in the bank and is a huge player, but was it a smart idea? What message did it send to the rest of the team saying, as long as you're fit, you're going to be definitely playing? I think Ter Stegen was very upset.
Has had an extraordinary season.
Yeah, and is probably at this moment in time, simply because of his fitness, ahead of Manuel Neuer. I don't think it makes a big difference necessarily to the team's performance, but I think it makes a difference on the message it sends to the rest of the team. They're basically, yeah, it's competition, but actually there's not competition, because as long as those big guys are there, they will play. And I think that's a problem. And then you have to say the dynamics of the club football involved. You know, 2014 you had the big Bayern block, you had Dortmund block coming out of big success, coming out of dominance that went beyond the Bundesliga. Jürgen Klopp's Dortmund did really well in Europe. Bayern had won a Champions League before. And now 4 years later, these guys are not quite individual at the same level. So I don't think it's so much about what they've done for Germany, but where they are right now in their individual career. Mm-hmm. And I think Löw should have been perhaps a bit more ruthless to evaluate that. But then, you know, I think it's difficult because as a coach, you want to see the human side and you want to trust your players. And I think it's a tough decision. Maybe the lesson is, if you win the World Cup as a coach, you should go.
Or you should accept that you will not get the same performances. You may lose, you may be knocked out, but start again, because football is cycles, isn't it?
Yeah, and the issue is, as he did in the Confed Cup with a very different team and an experimental setup, when he went into the tournament saying, let's just see what happens, it was good. Here, everything below defending the trophy was already seen as some kind of waste of time, and I don't think that is a realistic way of getting into a tournament. I think it would have been much better to say, let's see if we can do it again. Difficult one to pull off, keeping the focus and tension in the right way, but I think by saying that we're defending the title and, you know, this is all what it means, I think it already told people, you know, don't worry about the group stage, there's big games coming. And again, I mean, Löw made a huge mistake. He told Royce before he left him out in the first game, saving you for the important ones. I mean, that is not tournament coaching. You should not think ahead that way.
You have to play the games that you have to play first.
Absolutely.
Have you been, you have to be honest here, have you been heard by the reaction, I would say all over the world, celebrations of Germany being knocked out?
No, not at all. I mean, but why would I get hurt? I think it's the inevitable thing that happens when a team that dominates and wins stuff has a bad day. I think it's a natural football reaction. I don't think it goes beyond it. I don't think it's an anti-German sentiment as we had in the past for different reasons, non-footballing reasons and footballing reasons. No, I don't have any issue toward it. And you know, living in England, it was inevitable that they would take a special delight in it. But I think that's absolutely fine.
But aren't you surprised that there are no new jokes about it? they're all jokes that that number's been like
I've
60
seen
years
some
old.
new ones, but again,
the new ones? Good.
Yeah, but again, you know, I mean, Germans have spent loads of time in recent months laughing about the Dutch and the Italians for not making the World Cup. They've laughed at the English every time they crash out in bad fashion. I think that's absolutely fine.
Well, we've got England today, of course, against Belgium. The game that everybody's debating: should you lose this game or should
What a
it?
crazy discussion.
Absolutely, isn't it? I mean, by the way, you should know, and I think you're aware of it. It's a discussion that has not entered the mind of Gareth Southgate and his troops, but it is one that is
Well, how
out
would you
there in
know?
the streets. Maybe because of us.
Yeah, but still,
All right.
how would you know?
Okay. Well, maybe they like.
He's not going to say to you, actually, yeah, we are thinking of losing this game. I mean, they might
Partly
not,
because
they
who
might
would
not-
think that way?
They
that
might
way
not
anyway?
admit it to themselves. They might not admit it to themselves. But if they're 2-1 down, will they try everything and throw on extra players to turn the game? I don't know. I mean, I think subconsciousness is strong here, but
Look at it,
I don't
look-
think
look at
either
it.
team will try to lose the game. I don't think.
Look at it a different way. On the back of a defeat against Belgium, you think it will be justified in the way that the media works, and would say it doesn't matter, we just lost a game in the World Cup, but we beat Panama and Tunisia, so we're still candidates for the World Cup, or will it ask questions of how it was lost?
No, questions were definitely asked, and I think politically it would be damaging to do that and then get knocked out. It's the same. It's the equivalent of resting your best player against weak opposition, only to lose the game, and say, oh, what could have been. But I think the discussion shouldn't even take place because you should not think about what happens after the next game. There's no given that they will get past whoever they'll face in the last 16, and the idea is that we will get so far if we can just avoid the big players. So what? Then you're gonna eventually meet a big team. Well, what is the big difference? I mean, I don't think it's a real discussion. I think it's something that us in the media
Media
get very
discussion. I
excited
agree.
about. But in football, I can't see anyone.
Just to finish off, are you impressed with England?
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible not to be impressed with them because here's a team with a very inexperienced manager who's not afraid to copy from the best, to do away with everything that was supposed to be the England DNA and all this kind of stuff, where England were never really sure who they are, and just said, you know who we are? We are the players who we have, and we will take good ideas from whoever we can and see what we can do with it. I think it's a really smart and likable and innovative approach. We'll have to see how far it takes them because it doesn't change the fact that apart from Harry Kane there isn't that much individual class in the team. But I think you have to admire the way they've gone about it, and I think they're one of the most likable and functioning sides in the tournament.
I absolutely agree with you, and the only thing that's disappointing is that some of the things that are being published now is on the back of 2 victories. This could have been said much earlier. What Gareth Southgate is, as you say, innovative, is brave, and is a kamikaze situation because you cannot win with this team, but he's started a new path in which I believe there are England players good enough or understanding enough what he's been trying to do for them to succeed, or at least to go further in the next
I
tournament.
agree. I think it's a little bit reminiscent of 2010 and Germany, where new Germany came through playing a different style. They were still developing. They couldn't play a possession game then. They couldn't play when 1 or 2 players were missing. They just didn't have the depth. But they played with the same kind of sense of freedom and whatever happens. No one's going to tell us that we're not patriotic enough or that we're too rich or we're too that. I think they've really managed expectation beautifully and just made it into a let's see what happens kind of situation.
And it's very enjoyable. Now, right now, we're not going to have lunch by the river. We're not going to have sea bass. We're not going to have rosé wine. So we're just going to not enjoy ourselves this afternoon. Thank you, Rafi.
Thank you.